Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Addison Tyne. I am the marketing specialist here at EAC. We will be recording this session today, so pending any technical difficulties, everyone will receive a replay of the webinar. Please feel free to drop any questions in the queue and we will get to them during or after the presentation. And then following the session today, a short survey will appear. So please stick around and answer these questions after the webinar. And with that, I will go ahead and hand things over to Cassie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming today. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll let Levi introduce himself first, and then I will do the same.
Perfect, Cassie, and thanks for just a quick introduction. So my name's Levi Smith. I'm the 3D printing specialist for Formlabs. I'm essentially the North American commercial channel manager over here. So work very closely with EAC. Really excited to kind of talk about the 3L and some of the some really exciting things that are actually occurring as we speak. So with that said, I'll pass it right over to Cassie.
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Cassie Stumo. I've been here at EAC for over 3 years. I did a lot of heavy lifting in the marketing for the Formlabs side of things for the last few years. And about a month or so ago, I've transitioned into a sales role to offer 3D printing solutions for anybody that needs them. So I will be the one responding to questions, and I'll be here if you need to order more materials for your Formlabs printer or get that pre-order put in for the Form 3L. The exciting news is that we are shipping the Form 3L to our customers very soon. We'll go over more details just a little bit later in our presentation on this. And then here's our agenda for today. So hang tight. If you can think of any questions along the way, please send them into our questions panel. We'll get those answered for you after the presentation. And then we'll go ahead and start off the presentation with a quick poll. All right, what does your current prototyping process look like? There's a few answers here. Go ahead and answer according to where you're at in your 3D printing process. We'll give you a couple moments to answer. And Addie, does it look like most people have answered the poll?
I think we got 1 or 2 in here, so
okay.
With that, but.
And then she's going to share the results for everyone. Well, this is good news. If you are in-house 3D printing, that is what we are going to be talking about today. So, perfect. You can move to the next slide. Okay, first off, I'll tell you a little bit about who we are. At EAC, our mission is to transform the way companies design, manufacture, connect to, and service their products.
Oh, sorry, there we go.
That's okay. We've been partnered with PTC for over 20 years with experts in 22 areas of product development. We're located all over the US with our headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And then we have a wide range of product development solutions, including CAD software, technical publication software, PLM software, and more. We also have a full team of engineers that can help you with your projects. We offer PTC certified training courses for continuous learning for those of you who want to be certified in Windchill, Creo, or ArborText. We also offer assessments to jumpstart initiatives around digital transformation and connecting all things in your company. And then, of course, we offer solutions for additive manufacturing, otherwise known as 3D printing. At EAC, we sell a broad range of Formlabs products. We offer the Form 3, which is an affordable SLA desktop 3D printer. to get you started on printing parts and prototypes with over 25 different materials. The Form 3B is a newer 3D printer made exclusively for healthcare professionals and optimized for biocompatible materials. And then we have the Form 3L, which you'll be learning more about today. And that is created exclusively for larger industrial quality prints. So really, EAC is just the company you need to partner with to get all of the technology that you need at the forefront to make your team successful so you can continue doing the things that you do best. I'll go ahead and hand things over to Levi so he can get started.
Terrific, Cassie. I really appreciate just the overview there. And this is where, you know, before we kind of step into Formlabs, the place I always like to start with is our partnerships, right? You know, as someone who works very closely with all the North American partners, EAC was really one of our original kind of partners here for North America. And really what we're always looking for with our partnerships is a group that can really extend the end user experience we have with our brand, right? And you truly get that with the EAC, but you also get it in a more encompassing way, right? So when you talk about the digital workflow, EAC has been doing it for decades now. They have decades of application and consulting experience associated to design and product development. And I think the beauty of working with them is really all you have to do is come to them with an application problem. And whether that application problem is upstream in CAD or further downstream in 3D printing, they're going to have a holistic approach to finding a solution there. So it's always a pleasure working with EAC, obviously working with Cassie and the team over there. They're a terrific partner to work with, and they got terrific perspective in terms of some of those application problems you might be running into. So just want to kind of start there. Real quick introduction to Formlabs. So our goal over at Formlabs is to expand access to digital fabrication so anyone can make anything. And this really comes down to two key questions we're constantly asking ourselves. The first one, of course, is how easy can we make our products to use? And the second, how versatile can we make those products? So when you think about you know, how easy our products are to use, the point I always like to make is 44% of our users have little to no 3D printing experience before using Formlabs. And so we're not just talking about folks that have other 3D printing experience like FDM moving over to our product. We're talking about folks that are coming from the subtractive space, the injection molding space, moving over to 3D printing. Most folks are up and running within about 30 minutes. So it's very easy to use our platform. The second component has to do with versatility, and that really equates to the range of applications or the range of materials you have access to on our platform. So when we originally launched the Form 2, I think we had 4 or 5 resins. Right now we're up to over 30. On the Form 3 and 3L platform alone, we've launched more than 10 resins this year. So we really want to make sure that you have a great experience through a very easy to use product that's very versatile. And that's kind of our focus. So a quick kind of journey down just the history of Formlabs. Back in 2011, our founder, Max, got a chance to work with some of the SLA technologies available at the time. You know, at MIT in that media lab, was really enthralled with that type of technology. The biggest thing he took away though was the lack of access to these type of tools, right? And that's when he went to his basement, built his first prototype, the Form 1 that you see on the screen on the far left. Wanted to raise just a couple $100,000, put it on the Kickstarter, get this tool in the hands of a couple hundred professionals. And once we started that Kickstarter campaign, it really took off, right? We had over $3 million within the first 30 days, more than 3,000 backers. And this is where we really found that there is a place for this type of technology in the hands of professionals. So that was kind of the start. Form 1 Plus, we added a little bit more ease of use, a little bit more reliability, a little bit more versatility. The Form 2 was a real game changer in terms of that ease of use and versatility. We put about 40,000 of these machines out in the world, really allowed us to kind of get into a lot of market segments we up to that point weren't really working in, like dental, healthcare, jewelry, for example. So we put about 40,000 of those out in the world. 2019, we launched our brand new platform, the Form 3, and of course announced the Form 3L. Again, really exciting because it brought to the table a very exciting proprietary technology called LFS, or low force stereolithography. So we launched that back in early 2019. The Form 3B, obviously, we launched later in the year. This is our biocompatible platform for any of the biocompatible materials that we support. So just to want to give you a quick rundown on our history there. We have over 70,000 printers in the world that have produced more than 70 million parts. And when people think about our product and bringing 3D printing in-house, it's a very simple formula, right? It's cost per part. How much does it cost to make the thing I want to make? And what you have here is just the cost per part. And as that drops, the range of applications that are available to it. And this is a really good look in terms of the history of 3D printing. So when you think about, all the way back to 2009, 3D printing was really tied to very expensive machines, very large industrial systems, expensive materials. It really only allowed itself to very high-end applications like prototyping in aerospace and automotive. But as the cost of the printers have gone down, as the cost of the materials have gone down, the range of applications has exponentially and dramatically gone up. So, right now we're moving into small run production runs with plastic parts, production tooling for jigs and fixtures. Anyone that hasn't had a chance, definitely take a look at the work we're doing with New Balance and their shoes, right? So we're actually building performance materials on our platform, and they've launched essentially a series of product lines around our printers for performance running shoes. So really exciting in terms of the journey of 3D printing in general. It gets even more exciting when you start talking about the Form 3L. So I just want to kind of show this data here. This is data we pulled from 3D Hubs, which is a distributed manufacturing platform. This is really how we came to the conclusion that we needed to build bigger. So if you look at the graph here, you have essentially the volume of parts on the left and the part size on the bottom there. And obviously the majority of SLA parts are small, and a lot of the volume is in these smaller parts, but there's still a huge need for medium to large size SLA style parts in 3D printing. And this is really where the Form 3L comes into play. The range of applications, the range of part dimensions you have access to with the Form 3L, whether you have a small part or a medium to large size part, you're going to be able to bring that type of workflow or that type of need in-house with the Form 3L. So just keep that in mind as we walk through today. The range of what you want to get accomplished exponentially increases with the Form 3L. So with that said, we're going to jump right into the Form 3L. Very straightforward in terms of what this product brings to the table. It's 5 times the print volume of the Form 3, right? And you saw in the graph earlier, there's exponential range, the parts that you want to build in terms of size. And the place I always like to kind of start with here is just a quick story that we have at Formlabs in terms of thinking about how we get a large desktop SLA printer to market. And so, build volume has always been a detractor of ours. People love the technology, the reliability, if only it was a little bit bigger. And we've been hearing that story for probably the last 6 or 7 years. And a great story there is the work that we do with Google's ATAP lab. So Google's ATAP lab is essentially their manufacturing solutions fabrication lab, right? Application or manufacturing problems go in. On the other side of that ATAP lab, application or manufacturing problems are solved. And so it's a terrific lab. It's one of the nicest labs I've ever seen, frankly. And we've done a lot of work with them on the Form 3 platform. And when we were kind of discussing some of that work, one of the things that kind of came up on our side was, hey, listen, we're thinking about building a bigger desktop SLA machine. And their thought process there was stop doing what you're doing right now and start building that immediately. They saw the need quite a few years back in terms of what they're doing in that lab. And these are folks that are budgeting thousands of dollars month in, month out to outsource medium to large size SLA parts. So again, it was really exciting to hear that, and something we've definitely heard quite a bit. But I always kind of like to start there with the Form 3L and kind of the journey we've taken with it. So just a quick rundown on the technology itself. And again, you get a great kind of visual there with the Form 3L technology and the build volume of this machine. But again, it comes with 2 advanced compact optic systems known as LPUs. So that is the heart and soul of the Form 3L. And it's a very modular machine at its core. So the LPUs are obviously user replaceable. They're fully enclosed. And there's a lot of modularity built into this machine to optimize uptime. In terms of cross compatibility, we always look at Formlabs at the entire ecosystem. So whether that's materials, our preformed slicing software, the printers themselves, or post-processing, we're always looking at the ecosystem, and there's a lot of cross-compatibility between the Form 2 and the Form 3 and the 3L. So whether you're using our preform or dashboard or the resin cartridges, all those will translate over to the Form 3L. We have more than 20 integrated sensors on this printer to touch on, any print failures in the tank itself, to any potential concerns around the orientation of that part, to making sure there's plenty of resin in that resin tray to get the job done that you need with this printer. So there's a lot of integrated sensors within this machine. And of course, it's built on our proprietary low force stereolithography, or LFS 3D printing engine. And we'll really dive into what that represents. I think the key components to take away from LFS is we needed to build this before we could actually build bigger. And so just a quick rundown of what LFS represents. Essentially, it's an advanced form of SLA printing that uses a flexible tank and linear illumination to turn liquid resin into flawless parts. And again, great visual in terms of this process here, but this is what allows us to build bigger. And the key component of LFS is peel force, right? So if you think about our traditional Form 2 technology, reliable, high print success, lots of versatility, but had a lot of peel force with regards to the Form 2 technology. So with LFS, we eliminate that peel force by about 10-fold. So it's about 10 times less the peel force, which really allows us to build really large, massive parts. And without that type of technology, it'd be impossible to do what we're doing with the Form 3L. So just want to kind of give you a quick rundown there. There's a lot of benefits to LFS in general, because it's really a better way to build layer upon layer with SLA. So with that said, a couple of benefits of LFS. Obviously, we touched on these a little bit already, but huge parts, high print success, the same surface quality and high fidelity finish that you get with any SLA printers that you're currently using, or any SLA that you're outsourcing for. And a great example is the visual you have on the screen there. So obviously, this is a prototype that we built for an end user. And again, that part there, that prototype helmet, is printed in our clear resin. It's roughly 1,700 milliliters. So it's about 1.5 liters of resin to build that helmet. And anyone in the past who's worked with SLA technology, you really have to go up to a very high-end, expensive industrial machine to actually get that type of part made. So just want to give you that visual there. We're going to walk through just some of the features of the Form 3L here in a virtual tour. We touched on cross-compatibility a little bit earlier. One thing that will not cross over from the Form 2 or Form 3 will be the build platform. Again, way more robust, a lot bigger, about 2.5 times the size of a Form 3 build platform there. Again, very robust. We put 2 handles on it just based on the size of the parts you're going to have to pull off this machine. Definitely don't want any accidents happening when you're talking about 1.5 liters of resin, because it gets kind of expensive if you drop that. So just want to give you that kind of visual there. And again, in terms of the process, again, our low force stereolithography is the optics engine behind the Form 3L. And it's a traditional inverted SLA machine with the added benefit of being low force stereolithography. Something that's kind of unique and new is the way that we actually print layer upon layer here as well. So you can see the optics engine is actually going to move across each layer horizontally for each print. And the benefits of this is, if you had a stationary optics unit, it'd actually have to point that laser across the entirety of the build platform. And if anyone's had experience with inverted SLA technology, usually you'll have like a sweet spot in your build volume where you want to print the most accurate parts. With the Form 3L and LFS, since it's scanning across the entire build volume, it doesn't matter where you print, right? So if you want to print the far left or the far right corner, you're going to get the same crisp details, the same surface finish that you would if you printed in the central region of that machine. The motherboard here, again, we've parked it to the far right corner of the machine just to make sure it has some added protection. The LPU also banks to the far right of the machine as well. So if you have a resin tray in there, and let's say worst case scenario, very long shot, something happens to that tank, or maybe you have some resin spillage, you won't have to worry about that resin getting onto the motherboard, the circuitry, or obviously the optics of that LPU. And of course, the cartridges, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but it does allow you the opportunity to put 2 cartridges into the machine for continuous printing. There's quite a bit of resin that can sit in that tray, about 1 liter. So it does require a substantially larger amount of resin for these medium to large size parts that you would be printing in-house. We'll go ahead and, yeah. So, you know, this is just the level sense way. I'd like to kind of touch on this because essentially it's a very strong sensor we built into this machine. So it's constantly recognizing how much resin's in that tray. So there's an automated resin dispensing component to any of our products, but this essentially tells, you know, the machine that needs to put more resin in the tray, and it's very accurate. It's going to deliver a more accurate assessment of how much resin you're using day in, day out per job, but it's a very unique and very robust sensor built into the machine. So with that said, we're going to move on to beta feedback, and I think this is one of the benefits of Formlabs in general. Is, you know, I know we've delayed this product shipping out, you know, this year up until this point, but it's really allowed us to gather a tremendous amount of feedback from folks out in the field who have been beta testing this machine. And the one we're going to talk about today is Optimus Ride out of Cambridge. Again, they develop self-driving technologies, essentially equitable mobility systems. And the biggest problem they always had in-house was terrific lead times and unpredictability with design cycles to get those parts outsourced, right? So obviously there's a high cost to outsourcing, but the unpredictability of lead times associated to their design cycles really pushed them to the point where they actually brought this technology in-house. And even though, you know, on the Form 2 and the Form 3, they couldn't get the large parts that they're doing, I think they're doing like sensor enclosures, they still want to bring this technology in-house. They still want to control more of their design cycle, right? So what they were originally doing on the Form 2 and Form 3 is they were building these large enclosures on the Form 2 and the Form 3 in just sections, right? So they take those sections, process them, piece them together. You know, they didn't have to worry about outsourcing so much, but they did have a lot more post-processing associated to the parts that they're making. And they were very, very impressed with the Form 3L. So, you know, obviously they're not outsourcing, but the amount of post-processing they had to do was no longer an issue because of the Form 3L and the size of the parts they were able to make. And even more so, you know, these are parts printed at 100 microns. The surface detail, the quality of finish, the dimensional accuracy, so fit, form, and function testing were right on par with what they were getting out of the Form 3 machine. So they were very excited about this technology. The beta test was actually spectacular in terms of that reliability, the ease of use that they're used to. They absolutely got that, but at a much larger volume of part. So again, it was really exciting to kind of get this feedback, and we're going to have a lot of beta testimonials coming out over the next couple of weeks here. So definitely stay tuned with EAC. They're going to have all those details. But again, it's been a very exciting product to get this feedback from. So I want to do a quick sample part review. And just before we kind of get into that, I want to just find out kind of what you guys are doing in terms of 3D printing. So if you're interested in this technology, if you can kind of drop it into the chat here, you know, we'd love to know kind of what you're thinking about in terms of this product potentially in your workflow, what you might be trying to get accomplished, whether that's just product development, maybe design sprints, or maybe you have some interesting applications you want to run. Drop that into the chat. We have standardized samples for the Form 3L. EAC is going to have an allotment of these. So drop kind of those your point of view into the chat. And we'll absolutely put you in the hat to obviously get a free sample part. So if you can just go ahead and do that, I'm going to walk through kind of this gray resin sample here. So I'll bring up my screen real quick. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to showcase this part here. Perfect. So on the screen there, you have the standard vacuum nozzle. This was printed in our gray resin at 100 microns, about 5 hours per nozzle. Again, printed without support structure. Just to give you an idea what it looks like. I don't know if you guys can see the surface detail there, but what you're able to pull off this machine at this size is really one of a kind. You can see the lettering there. I also have a secondary sample part so you guys can see the support structure, but here's a full-blown femur printed at 100 microns in our clear resin. You can just see kind of how it was optimized and oriented in the software for a print success, but actually you can see the lettering there as well. But at 100 microns, you're able to print things this size. So I just want to kind of showcase those real quick. A couple of things just to keep in mind in terms of frequently asked questions that we're getting on the Form 3L. What's going to be available when this starts to ship? So we will have 4 resins available. We're going to have some of our standards, some of our engineering resins, so our gray and clear, our Tough 2000, and our Elastic 50A. Elastic 50As are one of our most popular resins, and Tough 2000 just came out this year on the LFS Form 3L platform. It's a terrific resin to work with for any rugged type of application you might have. So those are the 4 resins that will be available, and we'll have a fairly aggressive release schedule over the next couple of months as these units hit the ground in the field. So just keep that in mind. I know those questions will definitely pop up. I want to reiterate this point again. I know we talked about the start of the presentation today, but pre-orders placed today will ship before the end of the year. So I'm really excited about this product getting into the market. Just keep that in mind over the next week or so. And another frequently asked question, because this is obviously a key component of us in general. We're always looking at the ecosystem. Post-processing is a huge factor of that. Anyone who's had a chance to work with Form Wash, Form Cure obviously understands that how easy that kind of makes it to post-process. But for medium to large size parts, we will not have an automated post-processing solution to start. We have done a lot of validation on third-party off-the-shelf solutions. So for a Form Wash equivalent, we do have the ultrasonic that you see on the screen here, the Elma P180, the P300 have both been tested on the Form 3L in terms of a post-processing solution. They check all the boxes. So just in case you're concerned about that, there's immediate solutions now. And each pre-order Form 3L does come with a standard manual washing kit. So you will have the ability to just get a pre-order, have a kit to actually wash and clean your parts. But just in case you want something a little bit more automated, we definitely have recommendations there. And a quick summary of the specifications. So build volume wise, you're looking at 13.2 by 7.9 by 11.8. Again, 5 times the build volume of the Form 3. It has 2 modular LPUs that are very easy to replace, but again, they work in tandem in this printer as opposed to what you see on the Form 3. So the Form 3 comes with 1 LPU, the Form 3L comes with 2. So definitely has essentially twice the horsepower. Most of the parts I showcased today are printed at 100 microns. You're going to get very good detail out of those parts. Certain resins will be able to go down to maybe 25 microns depending on the application. And we do have applications that just need a little bit of a quicker part, right? So we're going to be able to go all the way up to 300 microns there. So just want to give you a quick summary of the specifications. I want to reiterate this point because it is changing pretty quickly. Currently, you can absolutely lock in your pre-order price today at just a shade under $10,000. That price will be changing, of course, September 15th. It's going up to $10,999. And also something to keep in mind, we have service packages associated with each machine. So you do have the ability to buy 3 years of service and warranty up front at a discounted cost versus just buying year over year. So just want to reiterate that this pre-order price is still available for the next, I believe it's about 7 days, 7 business days, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely reach out to EAC if you have any questions on this. And if you order today, you will absolutely have that machine by the end of the year. And I guess with that, I was going to pass it right over to Cassie.
Thank you, Levi. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate again that I will be the one that you can come to. I can answer any questions you might have. If you'd like to get a free sample part sent to you so you can see if that resin material works for your application, I can do that as well. I'll also be reaching out to attendees with more information regarding the Form 3L after the webinar. And then I think we're going to wrap up. I'm going to let Levi talk to another webinar that's coming up later this month.
Absolutely. And just kind of going off that point, right? After September 15th, we're going to have some terrific perspective for anyone who's interested in the Form 3L. So, we've had a good portion of time to go out, get this product out in the field with some of our beta testers, some of our really key opinion leaders for additives. So folks that have decades of additive experience, large frame industrial experience. We're really going to be presenting a lot of those stories September 23rd. So definitely stay tuned. EAC is obviously going to be promoting this, but just if you have time, September 23rd, save that date. There's going to be some terrific perspective in that webinar around what our betas are really talking about with regards to the Form 3L. And with that said, we're going to kind of open it up to Q&A, see if there's any questions that you guys might have with this technology.
Well, if no one's gonna ask right away, I do have a few questions for you, Levi.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
materials are available to print on the Form 3L?
Yeah, so great question. I know this came up a little bit last year at the Form 3. We have a rather robust material library, over 30 resins, of which we launched 10 brand new ones this year, right? So it does take a little bit more time to get all those resins validated on the Form 3L, but we absolutely plan to have those available. If you're thinking about some of the resins that weren't on that screen originally, whether that's gray, clear, Tough 2000, elastic, which are the 4 that will be available when we start shipping. You know, we have a fairly aggressive schedule. So whether you're using rigid, high temp, some of the other engineering materials, those should be validated before the end of the year. And at the same time, we're going to be fairly aggressive. So we see a lot of those kind of coming available on the Form 3L platform early Q4.
Awesome. And then my other question was, what is the ROI on the Form 3L?
So very good question, Addie. I like when people kind of ask this in general, because it's kind of hard to think about, especially if you just bring this in house or thinking about it versus what you already have. The ROI on this printer is better than what you get on the Form 3 or the Form 2. So if you think about traditional outsourcing, if you're doing any type of outsourcing right now on medium to large size parts, you're usually looking at minimum a 2-week lead time, but of course the price tag there. So each outsourced part, medium to large size, you're looking at somewhere between $700 and $1,000. So your ROI on this printer is about 10 to 15 prints. And I think there's a lot of things you can bring in house. I've talked to a lot of folks out there that budget exponential amounts of money just to outsource. You easily get that back pretty quickly with this machine.
And I think that's all the questions I have.
Awesome.
Kristen or
Awesome.
Kyle, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Levi? I
think that's all we've got for today.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, and then I think with that, we're going to end today. Thanks everyone for joining our webinar today. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to Cassie Sumo. And I will be sending a replay of the webinar. And if you have some time, please answer the survey for us. Have a great day.
Terrific. Thanks, everybody.